Guys, the moment Jayden Daniels stepped into the NFL, we've watched he earn the respect all across the NFL. Every time people talked about the league's brightest young quarterbacks, his name was always part of the conversation. That's why what happened today has caught so many people off guard. ESPN has just released its latest quarterback rankings, and instead of giving Jayden Daniels the respect many people expected, they made a decision that's already frustrating fans across the league. The rankings have sparked plenty of debate. So let me break down why so many people believe Jayden Daniels didn't get the respect he deserved, what NFL executives actually had to say behind the scenes, and whether this is one of the biggest quarterback snubs we've seen heading into the 2026 season. What's up, Commanders Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Commanders. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, ESPN put together this list by asking around 70 league executives, general managers, coaches, and scouts to rank the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Last year, Jayden Daniels was sitting at number 5 on this exact list, right after his rookie season turned heads across the entire league. He was ranked ahead of names like Matthew Stafford, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, and Baker Mayfield. That is how much respect he had earned in year one. This year, after an injury-shortened season, he is not in the top 10 at all. He landed on the honorable mention list, which puts him at number 12 overall. Let's walk through exactly how the list shook out before we get into why this happened. Number 1 on the list is Josh Allen. He has officially taken the top spot away from Patrick Mahomes, who was number 1 a year ago. The way ESPN explains it, Allen actually received fewer first-place votes than Mahomes, but his overall average ranking across all the ballots came out slightly better. One NFL general manager described Allen as the most singularly unstoppable player at the position when he is playing his best football, and pointed out that he has cleaned up his turnovers over the past 2 seasons. And honestly, when you look back at those playoff games last year, that description makes total sense. People love bringing up the turnovers in the Denver loss, but Buffalo does not even have a chance in that game without him. Then look at the Jacksonville game. That was one of the best playoff performances anyone put together all postseason, a 27-24 win over a Jacksonville team that was playing outstanding football at the time. Allen completed around 80% of his passes and added 2 rushing touchdowns in that win. That is the kind of performance where you watch it and know that almost no other quarterback in the league wins that game in that moment. Number 2 is Patrick Mahomes, still one of the most respected quarterbacks in the league even after a difficult season by his standards. Number 3 is Matthew Stafford, who jumped all the way up from number 6 last year after putting together an MVP caliber season. Number 4 is Joe Burrow, and number 5 is Lamar Jackson. So out of last year's top 5, 4 of those same names are still in the top 5 this year, just in a slightly different order, with Stafford taking the spot that used to belong to Daniels. At number 6 is Dak Prescott, who was not even on the honorable mention list last year. Number 7 is Justin Herbert, holding the exact same spot he had a year ago. Number 8 is Drake May, who was not ranked at all last year. One NFL coordinator praised his size, athleticism, accuracy, and playmaking ability, saying his upside is through the roof. But another defensive coach was a little more cautious, saying he is talented, but he still needs to prove it over time like the other quarterbacks on this list have already done. Number 9 is Jared Goff, and number 10 is Caleb Williams. Now here's where the story gets really interesting. According to the report, 4 quarterbacks were tied in the voting for that final spot in the top 10. Those 4 were Caleb Williams, Seattle's Sam Darnold, Green Bay's Jordan Love, and Washington's Jayden Daniels. Since it was too close to separate through the normal voting process, they had to go back to a group of general managers and executives to break the tie. In the end, Williams barely edged out the other 3 for that 10th spot. One general manager said he is the most dynamic of the group and pointed to his arm talent and athleticism as being perfectly suited for today's game. Another evaluator called him a closer, someone who shows up late in games. But there was also a more critical voice, a defensive coach who called him wildly erratic and said he does not always take the easy plays and still needs to mature into the position. That same coach admitted Williams makes plays that only he and Mahomes are capable of making. So that tiebreaker is the exact moment that pushed Jayden Daniels out of the top 10. Sam Darnold landed at number 11, right outside the cutoff. And then Daniels comes in at number 12 based on how the general managers ranked him among that group once the top 10 was locked in. Below him, the rest of the honorable mentions round out the list, names like Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, and Trevor Lawrence, with a handful of others like Bo Nix, Daniel Jones, and CJ Stroud picking up scattered votes as well. Now, here's what people need to actually understand. This was not some panel deciding Daniels is not a good quarterback anymore. Listen to what the actual executive said about him. One NFC executive said, "I know he was hurt in 2025, but I think this is the year he really makes his stamp, and he is the guy we are all talking about as having taken the next step," and specifically called him a good decision maker and very accurate. Another evaluator went even further and said he would still take Daniels over every other quarterback from that 2024 draft class from a pure decision-making standpoint. A league evaluator is saying that even after everything that happened last season, he would still pick Daniels first out of that entire draft class if he had to build a team from scratch. So, if the respect is clearly still there behind the scenes, why is he sitting at number 12? The answer comes down to one simple thing, and it is something that affects every single sport, not just football. It is recency bias. People naturally react to what they just watched with their own eyes. And what did the league just watch from Jayden Daniels last season? Almost nothing. He played in 4 games from start to finish while healthy. If you want to get technical about it, he did not even finish the Green Bay game while fully healthy, so realistically, that number is closer to 3 games out of an entire 17-game season. That is an incredibly small sample size to judge anyone on, especially a young quarterback trying to build on a huge rookie year. If he had gone out there and played 12, 13, 14 games and actually struggled, then fine, you could make an argument about a decline. But there was nothing close to a real body of work to judge last season. Meanwhile, executives were watching Drake May put together a strong season in New England. They were watching Caleb Williams close out games and make winning plays under a new coaching staff. They were watching Matthew Stafford have arguably the best year of his career and take home MVP honors. Those performances are fresh in everyone's mind, while Daniels basically disappeared from meaningful football games starting around Halloween last year. Out of sight, out of mind. That is really what this comes down to. It has nothing to do with his talent level and everything to do with what people actually got to see on the field. There is also another piece to this that people tend to overlook. It was not just Daniels who was banged up. The players surrounding him were dealing with their own injuries too, meaning a lot of what was on the field around him last season was backups, and in some cases, backups to the backups. When your supporting cast is that thin, it becomes almost impossible to fairly evaluate the quarterback based on what happens in those specific games. Now, I know some people are going to push back on this and say, number 12 is exactly where he belongs. And look, there is a fair argument there too. The names ranked above him did go out and prove it on the field last season, while Daniels was mostly sidelined. There is also the fact that some of these veterans ahead of him have already won big games year after year, not just in flashes. So, the case for 12 being fair is really built entirely around one season of missed opportunity, nothing more. But here is my honest take. I think it is too low. Look at what happened with Drake May last year compared to Daniels the year before. May was genuinely impressive during the regular season, there is no denying that. But in the playoffs, he really struggled. Meanwhile, go back and watch what Daniels did in his rookie playoff run. It was outstanding. So, when you are comparing bodies of work, one full healthy season from Daniels carries a lot more weight than what we saw from some of the names ranked ahead of him this year. I also think some of the placements above him are questionable. Justin Herbert at number 7, sitting ahead of Daniels, despite dealing with one of the worst offensive lines in the entire league. That says something about how far reputation still carries certain players. And I do not view Jared Goff as a true top 10 quarterback anymore either, even though he is a winner who finds ways to get the job done. At the end of the day, health is always going to be the deciding factor for where Daniels lands on next year's list. But if you strip away the injuries and just look at what this young man has already shown at the NFL level, his ceiling is higher than a lot of the names sitting above him right now. This time last year, he was in the conversation as a legitimate top 5 quarterback in this league. I believe he gets back there, and honestly, I would not be shocked if he ends up higher than that once he gets a full healthy season back under his belt. So here's what I want to know from you. Do you think number 12 is too high, too low, or exactly right for Jayden Daniels entering this season? And on top of that, where do you think he will be ranked a year from now when ESPN puts this exact same list together again? Drop your predictions down in the comments. I want to see what this fan base actually believes heading into a huge season for this football team.